Alright, in this video I'm going to quickly go over different ways we stress direction when given a vector to know what quadrant they go in and how we measure the angle. So one of the first ways we might run into some given vectors is being told the magnitude. Remember from class, that's the size. Like in these three examples, 20 newtons, 5 meters per second, 32 kilometers per hour. That's just the size part. The directional component will often be given as an angle. So in my first example, we see 20 newtons at 30 degrees. Like the note above says, when we're only given an angle and nothing else, we should always measure that angle from the positive x-axis, also known in your math class as your terminal angle. So that would be from 0 degrees. So this vector would be just from positive 30 degrees. And the next one, 5 meters per second at 120 degrees, going into quadrant 2, terminal angle 120 degrees. And in this angle or example, 32 kilometers per hour at 310 degrees. We'd see that carries us into quadrant 4. That's how we do it when there's nothing else attached to the angle. Now let's go over and see some other ways. Probably the most common way I use is dealing with this example or examples here. A lot of times we attach northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest to lock us into exactly what quadrant we're in. In that case, looking at this example, 20 newtons at 70 degrees northeast. You could see northeast would link to quadrant 1, and when we're given things such as northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, we should measure from the x-axis in that particular quadrant. So 70 degrees northeast would be 70 degrees from the x-axis in that quadrant. However, if we look at this example of an acceleration vector, 18 meters per second squared at 30 degrees southwest, well, southwest brings us to quadrant 3. And there's a small mistake here, which I'll fix very quickly. That should be 30 degrees right there. There we go. So we're measuring from the x-axis in that quadrant based on what's told here. Southwest, in this case, again, was quadrant 4, 30 degrees. So given any ways like this, we should be measuring from the x-axis in that quadrant. And one other way we should be familiar with is if they give us a direction tacked on to the amount of degrees as east of north, west of north, east of south, or west of south. In this case, is very similar to the last examples, but we measure, in this wording, we measure to the y-axis in that particular quadrant. So in this example in green over here, 22 meters per second at 60 degrees west of north would mean, okay, west of north, quadrant 2, but in that wording, it's measured from the y-axis. Similar example would be 15 newtons at 20 degrees east of south. East of south would be quadrant 4, measured from the y-axis again in that kind of wording, 20 degrees. So you can see there's several different ways, both pretty easy as long as you familiarize yourself with them.